We are going live. We are live. Say hello.
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 Hello, come and join me, Alan.
Not falling over this week like I did last week. Let's make sure we have a feed. We have
Yay!
a
Good
feed.
evening, everybody. We hope you're well this evening. Alan, are you in the room?
You know I am.
Again, we've unnecessarily and completely gone like colour coordinated with the
It was
blues.
absolute accident, wasn't it? Because
Well, I was dressed first.
you were dressed first. Right. Okay.
So welcome, as always, to Ask an Expert with me. I can't speak this now. I'm Emily,
And I'm Alan Braithwaite. We are the owners and founders of The Outside Bride.
the ultimate guide to planning your house.
The ultimate guide. And as always, this is Ask an Expert, where we do Wednesday, 8 p.m. live every week, apart from a little break we had at Christmas. This goes on to podcasts. So podcasters, you'll be listening to this, and thank you for listening week on week. Seeing some fantastic stats come off of SoundCloud and iTunes, so thank you. YouTubers, I'm sure they always say don't mix what you're doing type thing. Don't do it.
We don't like to go with the trends.
No, we don't. YouTubers, please subscribe to our channel and please give us a thumbs up. So a little thumbs up over here, little spinny thing there will give you a subscribe to the channel. And please leave a comment. Let us know what you think. Let us know how the plans for your wedding are coming along. And just let us know about your wedding. We're keen to know, aren't we?
It's definitely time for the summer start. I'm just looking at a picture. I look really pasty pale.
I'm going to be honest, and I'm your husband, so I'm allowed to be a little bit more honest than I should be. I don't know how I'm still a vague brown and you're not.
Well, no, you're not. You've just got a lot of facial hair here that covers your face.
Oh, have I? Because I always think in most pictures of us, I look a bit browner, and you've just got a shiny five head. I'm so sorry.
Wow.
It's not podcasters. Her forehead's not that big. It was just
Just
a cheap
say how
gig.
it is.
I know. I'm sorry.
Rude.
It was rude. I apologise.
This week has been yet another awesome week for us, hasn't it, Alan?
Yeah, we've had a fab week. What day is it today?
It is Wednesday, as always, and we want to ask an expert.
I know. We both keep thinking it's Thursday for some reason.
We are drinking the last morsels of the Australian gin. So Alan's dear old brother lives in Australia, came home for Christmas and brought us Westfield gin, I think it was called.
Oh, no idea.
Very tasty, and we are drinking the last few drops of that this evening. Very tasty, with a slice of lime and some lemon in my ice.
Yes.
Right,
I was just
anyone on?
chatting.
No.
Is anyone on? No, we don't say whether
So,
people are.
This week
We have got someone watching.
Lovely. This week on the blog, what have we been doing on the blog this week?
We had a couple of real weddings, didn't we,
did.
at the start of the week?
We had, starting from going over the weekend, we had one in the French Chateau.
Yes.
The French Chateau we shared on Friday, ready for the weekend, and that was amazing. It was an English couple who decided that they wanted to go somewhere that they remembered when they were kids, when they went on holidays as kids, so they went to the south of France, found an amazing ruin, and they had their outdoor ceremony outside with, I think, about 50 of their nearest and dearest with them for the entire day, and then had a massive party in the grounds of the ruins. They had some gazebo type things underneath. They had champagne and cocktails out of teacups. Very quaint and very English, I liked. They were very on trend. I didn't think they actually knew they were on trend, but they had living coral as their bridesmaids colour, so the Pantone colour of the year. So they were awesome. And who knew that hog roast would be such a controversial post?
Yeah. We have to say, don't we? At no point were we trying to be antagonistic, uncool, what any other words you want to put there. That was not our intention. In our opinion. Catering and outdoor weddings is important, popular, whatever other words you can put in, and a hog roast, as we felt, was standard in an outdoor wedding environment. It turns out not everyone is keen on hog roast. Yes. So apologies if we did upset you. That was certainly not an intention. But we were comfortable with putting it out. We just don't plan to ever upset
But
anyone.
it was an interesting question that we put out there in terms of what your wedding style and what your wedding food is likely to be and what you're thinking about, because you can be really traditional and you can have your sit down 3-course meal. If you want the traditional chicken wrapped in Parma ham with melon and raspberry jus for start and that kind of stuff, then that's absolutely
I'm hungry now.
I know. So
Yeah, I know. Keep going. Stop talking about
that's
food.
absolutely fine. But if you want to get off the wall and wacky and fantastic, then do so as well. And hog roasts are a great way. They're actually quite traditional as well these days. but they are a great way and an affordable way of feeding a crowd, because you literally pay for the entire pig and that is yours to
We had this conversation, didn't we? Because I was 40 last year. I tried not to mention it, and we were looking at a hog roast for us. Now, bear in mind, we work in this industry, right? I know, you know, and we were both like, nah, hog roasts are like 300-400 quid. Somehow, in the blink of an eye, hog roast went from 300 odd quid to approaching £1,000. So hog roasts are now about £1,000. And when we were chatting, we're like, no, I haven't booked one in a few years, but genuinely reckon they're like 300-400 quid. No, they're not. They are £800 plus now, and worth it. Worth it. You know,
you're not just getting the pig. You're getting that obviously cooked for a long amount of time. You're getting the salads. You're getting the sauces, the condiments, and the full-on spread next to it.
Probably should be talking about hog roast. No, it's fine.
I really want a hog roast.
No, I want a hog roast. But also, we announced the winner of competition 3 on Saturday morning. So on Joe South's name was pulled out of the hat on Saturday morning. She'd been given her prize. She has a 1 hour one-on-one chat.
Good luck, Joe.
With us. We're basically going to discuss her wedding and share any thoughts, hints, tips, advice. Discuss anything she particularly wants to talk about.
And I imagine there will be, Joe, because we've had lots of discussion on this particular segment for the last few weeks about your marquee and laying out your marquee. So I'm really keen to know how your plans are getting on and where you've got to.
Well, it's that age-old thing, isn't it? Yes. Joe's won time with us to discuss her wedding, which they're all available in the shop on our website if anyone else wants that. But actually, we'll also be geeking out because we love this so much. I don't know if we actually get across how much we love this.
It's sad,
but it is sad. It is genuinely sad how much we like it. We are geeks in the true sense of the word. But we will just love discussing someone's wedding with them. And in the getting to know you form you get when you buy a one-on-one 1 hour with us, it says, do you want to chat to Alan, Emily? Because basically Emily knows most stuff and she's like pretty stuff and everything else. But if you want to know about power and like marquees and all that sort of operationally stuff, then that's me. But pretty much I imagine most people are going to choose Emily. But anyway, the point is you're asked to choose whether you want Emily, me or both. So not that it's a competition, but yes, we'll find out. So if anyone else is interested who wants us for an hour to discuss your wedding, £99 in the shop on the Outside Bride. You can speak live with us.
As I said last week about this as a package as well, what the good thing about it is it suits all different people at different stages in their wedding planning.
Everyone.
So if you are in the very early stages and you know you've just got engaged last week, for example, and you know that you kind of want to do a wedding but you have no idea where to start, an hour with us is a really good way of starting because we can give you some guidance and a little bit of steerage as to what you should be looking for, the type of venues that you have on offer, all that kind of stuff. We can have a proper planning session at the beginning to get you really up to grips with where your planning should be going. If you're at the very end of your wedding planning, that's absolutely great for you as well because you've got everything in your head and you've been planning it for maybe 6, 8, 12, 18, 2 years. It doesn't really matter how long you've been planning it. And you might just want someone just to go, can you check this? You're right.
Yeah, I'm really sorry for anyone. I've got my computer on a wheelie stool. I'm so sorry. And I thought, why do I have it over there? Because I keep looking over there. So I moved it over here and didn't expect it to be so
the end of your wedding planning. So if you just want someone to be a sounding board, to check your plans, check your wet weather plans, check that you've got everything in your order of the day ready, make sure you've got your timings exactly as they should be, making sure you've given enough big windows of time. That's a great opportunity. But then if you're right in the middle as well, an hour with us might just be helpful for you if you're at a stumbling block, if you are at a crossroads of where to go next, or you've got suppliers that you're not sure how to work with, or you've got a question about laying out your marquee or access to your field or anything like that, then an hour with us might just help you just alleviate some of that stress, some of that pressure, that because you, at the end of the day, you don't do this every day. This is not what you do for a living, maybe. And someone who's a professional like us, who might be able to run through these, might help you out as well. So 1 hour with us might all be all you need. I really can't speak today. It's going a little bit hot.
No, it's not. You say this every week. No, you're fine. Right. Tonight we are going to obviously be talking about lighting.
Yep.
Now I can't talk. Outdoor wedding lighting, theming lighting, main lighting. We're just going to give you a bit of an overview of it as always. I think we just move on to lighting.
Yeah.
Should we move on to lighting? There was a question in the group that if we don't get any questions live, then we may go to the question in the group. Otherwise, the question in the group was quite a big one.
It was a
So,
chunky one,
so
wasn't
actually, we might not tricky or anything, but
No,
it's
just
just worthy
chunky.
of having it in its own context. But I think we mention it afterwards, yeah, unless someone asks live. So, lighting on your outdoor wedding. Why don't I start with kind of the sunsets type information, and then you can move on to making it look pretty type
Stop
stuff.
labelling is the one who makes things look pretty, darling.
Well, yeah, but I mean it in a compliment. I mean it as in, not in a sexist way, but I mean it as in, I'm really not very good at that sort of thing,
Okay.
and you are very good.
Stop.
Smash the patriarchy. I was this, like I said,
We heard you a gobbledygook today.
no, I know. We never intend to be controversial. I promise you, it's not our thing. And I was watching Stand Up for Cancer, Great British Bake Off last night, and was it Jen Phillips, politician? I can't think of her name. And she was making a smash the patriarchy cake. And I'll be honest, I apologised to her. I didn't know what that was. I had to go Google it. So yeah. Anyhow, so when it comes to lighting your outdoor wedding, there's a really key thing. So the majority of outdoor weddings in this country, in England, in the United Kingdom, England, Scotland, Wales, sorry everyone, are generally between sort of April, May until mid-September. Obviously, the longest day of the week is when?
Day of the week.
The longest day of the year is
Thursday. The 21st of June, which is Midsummer Day.
Yeah, which is pretty much slap bang in the middle of those 6 months. So we deem the outdoor wedding industry 26 weeks, half the year, April to September, with the longest day of the year being right in the middle of that. Apart from the peripheries of those 6 months, April and September, pretty much for the rest of the year, it's getting dark in the middle of a field sometime after 9 o'clock, like 9:30, 10.
Yeah.
So you are going to need some lighting, some main lighting, but you're not going to need loads and loads and loads. So it really depends where you're getting your main lighting from. You know, if your marquee company are bulking in some, what did when I ran our marquee company, we would have chandeliers 50 quid, uplighters 50 quid, floodlights 50 quid. It was 5 years ago. And pretty much it didn't matter how many you needed, we just put them in, right? So it was as simple as that. But yeah, even when it got dark at 9:30, you still needed them because when it was 11 o'clock, it was pitch black. So that's the other thing to remember, is when you're in the middle of a field or a forest at 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. when the sun goes down, it is pitch black.
It really is.
There's no ambient light. There's nothing. It's pitch black. So you need some lighting. What you probably don't need is like, what's the Blackpool Illuminations lighting? You would want a couple of chandeliers or something prettier because they're a bit retro nowadays in your structure to be able to light it up. Your floodlights on the outside, little spotlights around the outside of the marquee or T-piece, they look really nice in nighttime pictures. Another thing I would suggest is if there is a key feature like a tree, as long as it's within about 50 metres of where you are, I imagine whoever's providing your power and lighting would just run a cable with a couple of lights up it and a switch back at the main distribution board. That's something we've seen done a few times and we've done.
It's really good for photographs, for those key evening shots where you just want a bit of a feature, you want to make something wish well, because ultimately, once it does get dark, that's it. You have no backdrop, so you need to make that prettiness for yourselves if you want to have any more outdoor shots going past sort of 9 o'clock. That's not saying that's for everyone. You don't have to do that. You can, but if you wanted to have more ambience outside, there's loads of things you can do. That doesn't involve running cables all the way from your main generator. You could get battery powered fairy lights. You could get your jam jar lanterns. You could get festoon lighting. You could wrap fairy lights around key trees and just do the battery pack at the bottom and get a bridesmaid at maybe 8 o'clock to go around and switch them all on. You can get tapers, candles. You can get little tiny sort of the tea light bags, the paper light bags to line certain areas in the area.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Chinese lanterns then.
No. We're not advocates of Chinese lanterns.
No, we were before we all got wise. But yeah.
We had them at our wedding. We're none the wiser. That far away ago. Oh my word. But yes, just think about how you want the ambience and that feel to be in the evening. If you want everyone to stay inside your temporary structure, fantastic. Just keep those everything from outside. as Alan said, you can have uplighters, you can have chandeliers, you can have. We talked to DJ Simon last week on our special, who was talking about the fact that he brings battery-powered uplighters to give coloured mood lighting for when he's doing.
I'll put the link to his video in the comments below because it was really good. I mean, ultimately, he was here talking about his DJ company. Let's not beat around the bush, but some of the stuff he talks about in his video was genuinely helpful to anyone planning their own outdoor wedding, from how they can theme. And you know, they're Hampshire based, and we appreciate this is international at the end of the day, but taking your learnings from a company like Simon's, and we've known Simon years, like 5-6 years now, and he's the nicest guy in the world, and like best work ethic and all these other positive things. So we trust his word is what I'm saying. We wouldn't have him on if we didn't trust his word. So
But regardless if it's Simon or a full 8-piece swing band or whatever, they may well bring their own lighting as well and all that kind of stuff. So think about what's going to be going on in your structure in terms of what you need. The good thing about chandeliers and uplighters is most of them, depending on what company you go to, will have dimmer switches. So you don't have to have complete boom of light. You can have it down really, really soft. Maybe turn it down as the party gets started in the evening when the live music starts or your DJ starts, and then the ability to then turn it up as you're sending everyone on the merry way home. You have that ability to change the mood quite swiftly. Key things we always talk about, especially on the planning sessions as well with lighting, is yes, you may not want outdoor lighting. You may not need outdoor lighting because you've got nothing going on outside past 9 o'clock. But
keep the camera, sorry.
It does get dark quite quickly depending on where you are in the season. It can be picture. So if you've got photo booths and drink stations and candy carts and all the other fun and games outside, think about how those bits are going to get lit. And also, if you've got access issues, if you've got to get people back to cars, if you've got toilet blocks to get to.
If you need to tidy up, clear down at 11 o'clock.
If you're not staying at your spot, you have to go and you have to take everything with you. You just need to be able to get to lighting quickly. And I would really stress it's the access. If you are in a beautiful woodland spot and you've got, I don't know, you've got a campfire going on in a particular part of the area, don't expect Great Aunt Mildred to be able to walk in her heels with her heel stoppers on to try and get down a little wobbly path without some sort of lighting. It doesn't have to be every few feet. It can be meters apart.
We're huge advocates of the kind of £1 solar lanterns, aren't we, from the range or whatever, pound shop type thing we're buying them all from, just to mark the path. Because like I say, please do not underestimate how dark it will be at 11 o'clock.
But then again, I did a wedding last May, so May was still getting quite dark about 9 o'clock again.
Well, that's the thing. When we're near the longest day in the back end of June, you might be light till 10:30, depending whereabouts you are in the country.
But Helen had we did her lighting for her. She was very adamant she didn't want any kind of bright lighting at all, and we did talk about putting some spotlights outside, which we did, but all we did for her main lighting is we put strings and strings and strings of fairy lights, and she had a Capri marquee style, so the stretch tent style, and we went from the centre pole and we just went out in strings and
I really
fans
like
of
that.
it.
It is a faff,
and
but
actually,
I really like it.
with that many fairy lights going on above their heads, there was more than enough lighting. You just need to be confident that if you're doing your own lighting like that, you have a backup if a fairy light string fails. You've got something to think about. If you're having battery packs, make sure you bring spare batteries. And apart from that, go mad with it. I think it's a really, really nice way to be creative with your space. If you're not putting shed loads of decorations out because that's not your style, you can do some really clever things with lighting that also brings that ambience and that feel of love and warmth and
all that stuff.
All that stuff.
Yeah. So, right, long story short, lighting is important, is essential. It probably doesn't get dark until a lot later, so you're not going to need everything in the world, but just bear in mind that when it gets dark, when you're outside, it's usually pitch black, and Aunt Mabel, Uncle Bob, whoever is going to need to know where the toilets are, how to get back to their car or taxi and things like that. The other thing we mentioned, just covering it back, is when you're getting quotes for lighting, think about things like dimmer switches, because when you want it nice and mood lighting and atmospheric, you can.
Yep.
And then at the end of the night, when there's a bit of a tidy up going on, because there normally is, then you just pump them up, you know.
Yeah.
Also speak to your DJ and bands to see what lighting they can bring. As we mentioned, the DJ Simon from Hampshire Event DJs the other day, they bring their own battery powered, so wireless is the important part there, mood lighting that they can theme your tent to, which is amazing.
Oh, one last little thing on lighting as well is also if you are having a working end to your structure, if you've got a marquee with an extension for a catering tent or bar tent or anything like that, make sure you discuss. You don't have to have the same level of lighting in there as you do in the main tent. So if you're supplying your light as well, they can have strip lights. They a lot of
we used to put in, you know, fluorescent tubes or whatever the LED equivalent is with some switches, and actually we used to put so much in that unless the doorway from the catering area to like the bar main area, whatever setup was, it was so bright that they used to kind of go, actually that's too bright, so we used to have to take one of the lights out.
Don't forget, if you are having an on-site caterer that's not powered from a streetcar van or anything like that, make sure that you do put lighting in their tent, because there's nothing worse than trying to prepare plates and evening food and that kind of
by
stuff.
candlelight.
By candlelight.
Oh, that's probably worth saying as well, like lighting candlelight. Check with your structure or your building or wherever you are that you're allowed naked flames. The general rule of thumb, as I know, is either no, you're not allowed, or covered up, i.e. a tea light in a jam jar, you're probably allowed. But any more than the tea light in a jam jar, I'd be flabbergasted if someone said yes.
A lot of flammable stuff.
That's a lot of flammable stuff. So we've got a few watchers now. Hello everyone. Emma has said hello, his and hers blouse, loving it.
No.
Pure accident, Emma. Pure accident.
I would state though, when you say pure accident, I have been wearing this dress all day.
I put this on.
Since like 7 o'clock this morning I've been wearing this dress.
Yeah, but my decision process was actually quite sad. I actually went on YouTube and looked back at all the cover arts for Asking Experts to work out which shirt I hadn't worn in a while. So I didn't take your... But, you know, we always joke we're intrinsically linked. We've been together for...
But again, we're not intrinsically. I was dressed first, you copied me.
Yeah, fine. You dressed first, I copied you. Guys watching, look, if you've got any questions, please just type them in. We'd love to hear them and answer them. Otherwise, in a second, we will move on to the question from the... Oh, do you want to do the... Why don't we do an overview answer for the question from the group? Because it is a big one. And then actually, because we've got another topic lined up for next week, which is, I will try and find while we're chatting, and then we can actually cover it more in depth next week. Next week we are doing theming an outdoor wedding. So...
Theming and out. Yes.
Theming an outdoor wedding. And we will going to be elaborate on finding a venue.
Within the Facebook group for the Outside Bride, there was a question this week, and it sparked some conversation, which was a really, really good conversation actually. And it was...
Let me find a name. I think it was Gemma O'Driscoll.
Yeah, Broster.
Oh yeah, who's Gemma O'Driscoll? Gemma Craskell Broster. Yeah.
And basically, we were discussing finding locations for weddings, and obviously, especially with a lot of these blank canvas weddings, people are wanting privacy, and they're not necessarily wanting the run-of-the-mill wedding venue that you might get. So they're looking for a field, or they're looking for a campsite, or they're looking for a woodland that is not necessarily typically an outdoor wedding venue. And where do you find those venues? And it's really, I'm not going to lie, it can be really tricky, especially again, if you're not in the industry and you don't know the connections and you don't know where you want to go potentially. It can be a whole minefield of where to find.
Yeah, it can be.
We've talked about our stories so many times, but for new listeners today, we knew for a fact that we wanted to get married in Dorset.
Give the backstory. I'm from Andover. Emily's from Southampton, if you know, and basically they're both a bit crap.
Rubbish. I didn't want to get married in Andover, and you didn't want to get married in Southampton.
So we decided to get married in Swanage, which we both love.
We love Swanage, and we spent a lot of time together, and we spent a lot of time when we were first dating together, so we wanted to get married.
Courting.
We wanted to get married in that general area. We knew we wanted to. We didn't start off wanting an outdoor wedding. We looked at a few venues and went, well, that doesn't fit more than 20 people, and that one does.
Well, it was the age of we didn't like the restrictions imposed upon you by a venue, you know.
So we quickly got round to decided we wanted an outdoor wedding. We wanted that kind of style of the relaxed. Every man has dog to turn up. We wanted camping. We wanted that relaxed.
What you want, where you want, how you want.
Exactly. And we got in the car. We drove around several darkened streets and little country lanes, and
Random meetings with farmers.
Alan made
Actually,
me.
it was a real proper adventure in
Alan made
hindsight.
me nearly die because he was scared of dogs, and he made me walk into this garden once, and I literally had to. You stood cowering behind me as this big Rottie started barking
What
at us.
I want to say is you've made that up and you've lied, but no, that's 100%
Exactly.
true. That's 100%
I was like,
true.
great, you bite me instead of my big burly husband to be. But we just knocked.
My big burly. Oh,
You went there, it was like fat.
thanks.
We knocked on
No,
doors.
don't-
We went
no
in.
fat shaming.
We went onto certain streets and we looked at the view. We saw field upon field upon field, and then we worked out who owned those fields. We got some OS maps out. We got spoke to local land agents, and we managed to work out where we wanted our field. Turned out actually,
Well, this was the downturn in an otherwise beautiful
although
story.
it was a farmer who was a very nice farmer, the National Trust.
Yes, and
overviewed-
they stitched us good and proper, didn't they?
But hey, we had a great day.
We did. We
But-
don't care.
You can go along that route, and it's laborious. But if you have a specific thing in mind that you really really want, it is worth a little bit of effort and to try and work it out.
I mean, there are websites. There's fieldlover.com, Land for Events have been mentioned in the feed.
Land for Events is great.
I don't know Field Lover. I'm looking at it now.
It's
Find a field.
it's a great site as well. There are across the country. It covers. It's slightly limited with how many per county, but there is a nice selection there. But then you've got things like campsites. There are things like country parks. There are give me an example. I've just completely lost my train
Well,
of
no,
thought.
I'll finish because we've got friends of ours who are asking, they want to renew their vows and we're asking where to put it up. And it really, look, it's as simple as this. If there's a bit of grass, you need to kind of work out within reason who owns it and if they're going to let you. And generally that's just finding out who owns it and asking them. They're either going to go, yes, they're even going to go, yes, you need to pay me this, or they're going to go, no.
Yeah.
They're not going to like get angry or anything. And I think for me, that's one of the exciting potentials of an outdoor wedding is like us. We found this place up on the Purbeck Hills where stone carvers through one window of the marquee you saw Corfe Castle, for anyone who knows it, just an old ruin, and through the other window you saw the Isle of Wight, which is an island off of the south of England, for anyone who knows it. And that was really special for us. But literally we went, this is where we want it. Let's find out who owns it. Let's ask them. And I think that's important. So the friends I'm talking about, they're into disused railways. It's got their own YouTube channel, actually, Paul Whitewick's Disused Railways or something
Nice
like
segue.
that. Yeah, Paul, that's on us. And I said, well, why don't you go and find a disused railway? And they were like, oh yeah, and they didn't even think about that. So for me, that's what's exciting
We
about
have
outdoor
done
wedding.
weddings, and we have been to weddings at things like activity centres, where they. I used to work at an activity centre where it was more outward bound for people with disabilities, but they had a massive outdoor space. They had cabins for rent,
A plethora.
plethora.
Our favourite word.
They had a sand school for ponies, and then they had the woodland behind it, and that actually worked out as a really good space. And it's not something they advertise as weddings, but you know, a phone call if you've got an idea that might work. Speaking to owners of these buildings and these kind of organisations, they may go, oh, actually that's a really good idea. You can definitely hire us for that.
I think you will be surprised how many people will say yes, probably wanting a bit of money. Our general rule of thumb is a outdoor space to hold a wedding is about £1,000. Now we know loads who have got it cheaper than that, right? We know loads and loads who have gone, oh yeah, I just smiled, oh yeah, I knew them,
And
oh
you may
yeah,
well
I
get
knew.
that.
You know, fantastic. But if you're expecting to hire a piece of grass to hold your wedding on, the rule of thumb is about £1,000.
And I will defend that price a little bit as well. Some people might go, that's really steep. And we have a second group that we work with, which is all for outdoor wedding suppliers, and we have some landowners who are in that group. And what people need to realise when they're looking at land hire is that there are things that go along with that land hire. Number one, the length of time you are holding that. So it's not just for the wedding day. You might be getting it on the Wednesday or the Thursday and taking down on the Sunday or Monday. So that's quite a few days worth of hire. You've got a dynamic risk assessment, so they're going to be checking it to make sure it's safe to be used. They're going to be having to cut the grass. They're going to be getting their tractor on to make sure that the grass is nice and cut for you potentially. They're going to have to deal with the aftermath of you leaving. Is it going to be fit for purpose? Are they going to have to pick up broken glass? Are they going to have livestock
What
moved?
do Holden Farm
They
do?
have a rural responsibility.
A rural responsibility deposit,
Yeah.
basically. So
So it's not just as simple as I just want that bit of grass, bish bash bosh done. You've also got to think that if it's a farmer's field, they may not be able to use that field for a week, which means they're not necessarily making any money off that land for what they would normally do if they were grazing and stuff like that. So it is quite a steep amount of money in the grand scheme of things. But then if you think about it, what you're getting and how much work goes alongside that, then I don't think it's too shabby.
No, absolutely. But I think there are absolute bargains to be had when you think about the percentage of grassland or outdoor land in this country. The larger percentage, then the world's your
I
oyster.
will say the majority of our weddings for Bayley last year. Well, I mean, we are in the south of England. There's some lovely big houses, but a lot of our outdoor things that we were involved in were in family back home, back gardens. We had lots of back gardens, so you might have a postage stamp garden, Paul, but you might have an aunt, or you might have a cousin, you might have a grandparent who's got a larger garden, and depending on the size and scale of your event, you might only want 20 or 25 people to come to your event. You might want something very intimate. That might work for you. You don't need to have 200 people there in a massive marquee in the middle of the field, in the middle of nowhere. If you can fit it in your garden for a one-off, think about that too.
Yes. What was I going to say? Please. I think we're going to finish it there, aren't we? We'll save the rest for next week. Please click on thumbs up, please, guys.
I love it.
Please subscribe to our channel and please leave a comment. Podcasters, we'd love it if you left a rating and a review. What was that other thing? We really want to hear your stories of how you found your venue, how you found your outdoor wedding venue.
Really do.
We do. So there's a link in the Outside Bride group. I'm going to paste it in the comments to this video as well. I had to think about that. So if you want to tell us how you found your outdoor wedding venue, please click on it. If you've already told us, and you've told me in our little chat in the Outside Bride the other day, please also fill in this document, because that's where we're getting all the information from, because we need more than what you told me the other day.
You want to tell your stories?
Yeah, we want to tell your story. We're going to turn that into a blog. And if you're random to us and you don't really know us because you're not in any of our groups, feel free to click on the link below. Let us know how you found your outdoor wedding venue, and so we can share your story in one of our blog posts. So that's it. Like, subscribe, comment, tell us how you found your venue.
And have a great day.
Thank you very, very much, as always, for joining us. Watchers, thank you very much. Listeners, thank you very much. We will see you next week, where we're going to talk about how to theme an outdoor wedding and a bit more about finding your perfect outdoor wedding venue. Bye. Emily, keep waving.
I'm going to reach for the gin.